Kanye West has been on an unhinged tirade for the month of October.
The thing about it, me and Adidas, is like, I could literally say anti-Semitic shit and they can't drop it. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me.
Adidas is ending its partnership with Kanye West.
If you missed it, Kanye has been on an anti-Black and anti-Semitic tour this past month. It started off in early October with Kanye West, Candace Owens, and other models debuting at Paris Fashion Week wearing White Lives Matter shirts. Immediately, this sparked controversy. And during all the criticisms thrown at him, Kanye tweets out, "Everybody knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. It's over now. You're welcome."
Bruh.
So not only does Kanye come out grifting with the White Lives Matter shirts, he calls out the whole BLM concept, not differentiating between the movement and the organization. Rightfully, people have been questioning what happened to the $90 million that Black Lives Matter made during the 2020 protests. However, Kanye is not doing that. He's attacking the sentiment of Black Lives Matter. And speaking of rhetoric, Kanye goes full-on right-winger and buys the social media app Parler.
Breaking news this morning, Ye, that's the artist formerly known as Kanye West, acquiring social app Parler. Ye saying this in a statement, quote, "In a world where conservative opinions are considered to be controversial, we have to make sure we have the right to freely express ourselves." The acquisition expected to close later this year.
This may seem strange at first, but when you look into it, Candace Owens' husband, George Farmer, owns Parler. And if you had any doubts about Kanye's descent into white nationalism, just listen to him talk about George Floyd's death on the Drink Champs podcast.
I watched the George Floyd documentary that Candace Owens put up. And the day when he died, he said a prayer for, 8 minutes. He said a prayer for 8 minutes. They hit him with the fentanyl.
Oh my God! If you look, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck.
Kanye clearly gives out a shout out to the Candace Owens documentary, which gives the outlandish claim that George Floyd died from fentanyl. And don't you just love how the host of this podcast gave no pushback whatsoever? They just let him be anti-Semitic and push these anti-Black false narratives about Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. Anything for access, I guess. But Kanye attended its premiere in early October, and we're seeing a pattern here. Tucker Carlson was also happy to have Kanye on his show to air out the drama about the shirts. I'm not going to go over the whole interview because it's 2 hours of straight nonsense, and I don't want to melt my brain like that. So Tucker introduces Kanye and then asks him about his lanyard. Things instantly get strange from here.
So you just came from Paris Fashion Week, you just landed, and the lanyard's still on from it, and there's a photograph on it. What is that?
It's a photograph of a baby's ultrasound.
Why is that? And that you designed that?
Yes.
Why? What does that mean?
It just represents life. I'm pro-life.
Boy, so you wear it on a badge. What kind of response do you get? And good, amen, I agree.
I don't care about people's responses. I care about the fact that there's more Black babies being aborted than born in New York City at this point. That 50% of Black death in America is abortion. So I really don't care about people's responses. I perform for an audience of one, and that's God.
So Kanye reveals his pro-life stance, and he instantly throws out this false statistic, which even on its face should be laughable. We should be concerned about the abortion rate of Black mothers. And there is a terrible history behind sterilization in the US with Black men and women at the center of it. That's why we should be looking at the cause and not the effect. Black mothers plagued by poverty receive poor medical care, often live in contraception deserts, and are often ignored by their doctors. So more often than not, this results in a life-threatening pregnancy than their peers. But don't let me mansplain it to you. Take it from this TikTok user who has faced medical racism on her own.
Your husband rushes to the hospital and the ambulance rushes you to the hospital. When you get to the hospital, you're put in a room in labor and delivery, and the nurse on labor and delivery tells you to describe your pain. You start crying, telling her exactly how much pain you were in, and she tells you to shut up because she's typing. So you try to shut up, but you're in so much pain that you start screaming, telling her, "Please, I feel like I'm dying, please help me." And she tells you that if you don't shut up, she's gonna leave the room. So then you quietly beg her to please don't leave the room, just please help you because you feel like you're dying. She tells you that she feels like you're faking for pain medicine, and so when she does the check of your baby's heart rate and contraction, she sees that you're not contracting. You tell her you have pain in your shoulders and the pain in your stomach is constant, so you don't believe that they are contractions. You don't know what's going on, but you're in severe pain and you need help.
Instead of addressing medical racism and medical apartheid as it should be categorized, Kanye talks about more black babies being aborted than born in New York, which is just wild. He uses a common far-right talking point against abortion and black women by saying this. And next, I want to let you know that there is a demonic specter haunting our television screens and being pushed by our mass media. And that demonic specter is known as obesity.
I think the liberal term is a body goals black woman. Now let's talk about Gabby and my good friend Lizzo. Lizzo works with my trainer, a friend of mine, Harley Pasternak. When Lizzo loses 10 pounds and announces it, the bots, that's a term for people it's like telemarketer callers, like on Instagram, they attack her for losing weight because the media wants to put out a perception that being overweight is the new goal when it's actually unhealthy. Yes. Let's get aside the fact of whether it's fashion and vogue, which is not. Let's just, or if someone thinks it's attractive, to each his own. It's actually clinically unhealthy, and for people to promote that, it's demonic. You know,
what can I ask? Yeah. I've noticed this also.
Yeah.
Why do you think they would want to promote unhealthiness among the population?
It's a genocide of the black race.
Kanye then turned his eye on Lizzo. He tells Tucker that the media is working to keep Lizzo overweight as part of a black genocide campaign.
Oh my God!
This is a lot to take in, so I'm going to pinpoint 3 major concerning factors to me. Roping Lizzo in with demonic stereotypes of obesity is not random. In fact, the racialized science of BIPOC bodies, particularly black women's bodies, is a continuing crisis that persists in the US to this day. The thin body type is held in proximity to whiteness. Kanye fails to address food swamps or food deserts, and how processed foods are way more expensive than fresh food. But why would a billionaire know or even care about those facts? Then we get to the definition of genocide. The UN defines genocide by the following. There are a lot of ways we can look for black genocide in the US, but to not mention police shootings, destruction of black communities, systematic funneling of black men into labor camps, lynchings, the US foster parent and adoption system, and forced sterilization, all of this fits under the umbrella of genocide. Essentially, Kanye wanted Tucker Carlson to give legitimacy to all the talking points the far right has come to adopt. He is essentially being an Uncle Ruckus, and if you get the Boondocks reference, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Kanye understands that, and so do they. We get the House Judiciary GOP Twitter account praising him, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump. And then we have Indiana Attorney General, who is also Republican, coming out in support for Kanye's free-thinking views. So apparently anti-Semitism and being pro-life and anti-black makes you a free thinker now. Factor in Elon Musk made headlines back in May 2022 denouncing the Democratic Party and putting his support behind the Republican Party. And Elon is also buying Twitter. So this would make Kanye the newest billionaire to own a social media app after Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump. See where I'm going with this? Now, at first, it may seem silly, but Kanye happens to be good friends with both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So now the threat of a right-wing social media space is not just a dystopian nightmare, it's becoming a reality. 2 days later, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democratic congresswoman, also announced she was not a Democrat anymore, citing anti-white racism and wokeness, which are blatant dog whistles. Looking closely, we see a pattern happening with elites and politicians. As the appeals to nationalism and patriotism surge, sympathy for tradition becomes more prevalent. Even people like Kanye's ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, who would never consider herself a fascist, ditched her dark skin for an eyebrowless, white-skinned look posing in front of a giant imperialist flag, the American flag. So though Kanye may be acting erratic and adding shock value, he is far from the only one finding themselves embracing white nationalism. No. I'm not calling Kim Kardashian a white nationalist. I'm saying she's appealing to Eurocentric images of beauty while standing in front of an ethno-nationalist flag. There's so much more in that interview that I could go over, but I'm not going to because it's just too much to sit through. And you can probably find other people who have done the whole thing and just you really get a summary. One of the final topics I want to focus on is the bigotry. And as Front Fanon points out in this quote, the Negrophobe and the anti-Semite are essentially the same thing. So let's go ahead and focus on the tweet that everyone on television has been trying to get to the bottom of, even though it's pretty blatant what it means. It's not in the least bit surprising that people like Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens rushed to his defense so fast to either downplay or obfuscate the reality. What is this tweet even? So Kanye attacking everything is fine, but you only draw the line at anti-Semitism? That's a terrible take, Ben Shapiro, even for you. I'm sure if someone of the Islamic faith said this, Ben Shapiro would definitely not have the same response. And then we have Candace Owens, who comes out with a response that is no less confusing and no less far-fetched.
Kanye West wrote and then subsequently had his Twitter locked when he said, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda." That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust.
But if you're an honest person, you will admit that.
Right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet,
You had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers.
Candace claims that honest people don't know what that tweet means. No, I'm pretty sure people know what that tweet means, Candace. Just because he didn't call out Israel, he pretty much declared war on the Jewish people. Trying to launder anti-Semitism is even low for Candace Owens. Just saying. But as the Kavernacle points out,
so you see what Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro are doing there. Like, they're really trying to say that Kanye West's anti-Semitism isn't that bad because it has nothing to do with Israel, right? Now, Ben Shapiro is calling it anti-Semitic. He's not being like Candace Owens, trying to like beat around the bush. But then he's retweeting someone saying like, oh, you notice Kanye's anti-Semitism, now look at all this other stuff. Then it starts talking about like Zionism and Israel, and it's pretty clear what they're doing. They're trying to downplay what Kanye's saying because Kanye isn't anti-Israel, right? And if someone is anti-Israel, that is anti-Semitic to these people. If someone says anti-Semitic things but is pro-Israel, these people don't really.
Conservatives don't care about the individual Jewish people. They care about pro-Zionist movements. Ye's Cuomo interview went no better. Him and Cuomo went back and forth. Kanye's driving, talking to Cuomo, and he doesn't put the brakes on the anti-Semitism. In fact, he just doubles down.
When I said DEFCON 3, what I was saying is I'm going to talk about all these things that I saw that just so happen to be by Jewish executives or Jewish friends of mine.
So originally I had laid out a script for the whole video, and I thought I knew what it was going to be when I started. But deep in the video creation, I found myself kind of agreeing with Kanye on some things.
The life for a black person in America is like a constant test. Even after we're out of high school, after we're out of college, we're always being questioned. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
What he's doing is actually very insidious. It wasn't the fact that he is dunking on white men and calling them broke, but Kanye has done that in a white nationalist capitalist framework. So he's still not the hero in this. He is very much still the villain. And even though he was spewing these false facts about the Jewish community, the black community, you can see that a lot of people still hold on to this because he's meant so much to them. I think D.L. Hughley said it best on Cuomo's show.
Other than he has co-opted the pain of black people and the wardrobe of homeless people. And he's made a great living co-opting the pain of black people and the wardrobe of of homeless people.
Well, Despite Cuomo scoffing and making a mockery out of the homeless, even omitting half of the quote in the title, D.L. Hughley is right. Kanye West has co-opted the pain of Black people and the wardrobe of the homeless. Kanye has always been weaponizing his Blackness and cosplaying as a home insecure person. His fashion line is full of this, and so is his music and persona.
So the Kanye concert the other day, right? So the Kanye concert, and he was doing all the lights. And you know how all the lights starts. He does like three like parts of a verse, and then he gets to the end, and then he holds the mic out for the N-word part, and everyone was like, nigga! Like everyone. And I wasn't in Detroit. I wasn't in South Africa. I was in Texas, where they make white people. I was surrounded by white people, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And they all looked at me like, what you gonna do? It's a Kanye concert. We outnumber you.
This is the latest rebranding, which seems to be him burning all of his bridges with the liberal media and creating his own ecosystem, which is a universe created by him, a self-contained city that will have all Kanye's food, drinks, and all items will bear Kanye's name. Kind of sounds like another billionaire. I don't know. Yeah, it's like billionaires want their name on every single thing. What I'm saying is that people like Trump, Kanye, and Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson don't have to believe anything they're saying. They know their audience is full of people who are either explicitly buying into these anti-Black and anti-Semitic statements or are plain out loud and proud white nationalists. It's extremely profitable for them to legitimize and launder these wild talking points and make the world worse for the many and better for the few. Kanye and Candace Owens have decided their proximity to whiteness is worth more than challenging it. And yes, Kanye is mentally ill, but as FD Signifier points out, mental illness does not make you go on anti-Black and anti-Semitic rants. Those have to already be there dormant in your head. The fact that you stopped taking your meds just made it come to the surface. And this rhetoric that Kanye is spouting is definitely having real world consequences. And unfortunately, he's right now crying about cancel culture. And this is what billionaires do, unfortunately. They go on the world stage, cry about cancel culture and how they're being silenced while they stand on the world's highest tower with the loudest microphone. So this is far from over. This is an ongoing story, but we'll just have to keep watching and see how Kanye's spiral into white nationalism goes.
When, let me say it so the soundbite is better for you guys. When the idea of Black Lives Matter came out, it made us come together as a people. Now afterwards, yes, there was some things where the money went. There were some things where it was used in order to push us to the Democratic vote. There were people behind it involved. That happened, but the general feeling. So when I said that, and I questioned the death of George Floyd, it hurt my people. It hurt the Black people. So I want to apologize to hurting them, because right now God has shown me by what Adidas is doing and by what the media is doing, I know how it feels to have a knee on my neck now.
I know how it feels to have